My friends, welcome to part 2 of the Chris Chan and Alec Benson Leary phone calls. And where we left off, Alec was explaining to Chris how, his character Asperchew and all the characters he has in his universe, they're all wholly original. Yeah, they may have a lot of striking resemblances to Chris and Chris's real life and Chris's comic, but that's just purely coincidental. And as Alec is going on to describe this, even Chris is starting to sniff out his bullshit. But it's something that never comes to fruition because Chris can't really fathom all this. He can only see that this dude's fucking with him, but he can't really articulate why Alec is fucking with him or how Alec is fucking with him. So we're going to jump back into the call and see where we go from here. But yeah, like I said, that's where we left off. Alec is just trying to explain his character a little more to Chris. And yeah, we'll jump right back into it.
Just because he has, the glasses and the Buddha belly and the man boobs and the goatee, that doesn't make him a parody of you. I mean, that's
yeah.
And besides, you said you had a past Buddha belly. I mean, how could it be a parody of you if your belly's in the past and Asperchew hasn't currently?
Yeah, I mean, you mean if I currently do not have the Buddha belly?
Well, exactly. So Asperchew can't be a parody of you, right?
Okay. Well,
I mean, doesn't that make sense to me? Doesn't that make sense to you?
Okay. That's fine.
Now, this is one of those beautiful questions that fucks with Chris's worldview of how he looks, and also fucks with Chris's fake world, like the Sonichu shit, because Alec brings up, well, Chris, this can't be parodying you because, like you said, this guy has a big Buddha belly, and you don't have that no more, right? And Chris is kind of like, yeah, I guess you're right, yeah, you're totally right there, dude, because Chris doesn't want to admit, yeah, I still do have that Buddha belly, because in his head, he truly doesn't think that. Chris really doesn't think he's fat. Chris really doesn't think he's overweight. He thinks he's completely fine. So he's well and fine to admit that, I guess Asperchew's not a parody as long as it gets him to admit that he doesn't have the Buddha belly no more.
I mean, it's just a little.
Yeah. Okay.
So it seems a little naive to think that Asperchew and everything are parodies of your character. I mean, I do include some of your characters in the comic, and those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but my original characters are purely original. Asperchew, nothing about Asperchew is a parody. And
okay,
I kind of like you to when you issue your retraction video to let everyone know that Asperchew is original and is not a parody in any way.
Now, am I just high, or is this the first time they brought up the retraction video? Because I know Alec has talked a lot about how Chris should take these things back, but I hadn't heard him bring up the retraction video yet. I guess he has, maybe I don't remember it. But the reason I bring it up is because it's something important with these phone calls, because it's going to be a constant with Chris trying to make these apology videos and just never making them correctly, always making demands of Alec in them. And we'll look at those apologies too if I can find them on here. I should be able to find them on here. But, it's something that's going to be a constant here, because Chris is going to make a lot of apology videos and all of them are going to be fucking subpar.
Or if they're and you did mention that I don't have a disclaimer on my comics, but that made me think I should create a disclaimer, and so I did.
Yeah.
So if there are any elements that look parodic, that that cover.
Okay. Yeah, and also, you definitely do reference my Sonichu and my Quick Bill, and especially the KI combo recently.
Well, as you said, those weren't yours, though. You said those were copies. You said those were just, copies of.
Yeah. Your versions are just recreated facsimiles.
I feel like that's a phrase Chris only learned just so he could tell people who draw art about Sonichu why it's not legitimate art about Sonichu, because he keeps that shit on lock and key. He don't want no one fucking with that. Even nowadays in his jail letters, he's still writing to people telling them that, anything you draw isn't canon because Chris isn't out of jail to tell you it's not canon. When he feels like if he's like on Twitter and all, he can tell people, no, 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 don't fuck with my shit. But because he's behind bars, he now feels the need to write letters to people, informing them to tell people that, yeah, you can't fuck with my shit. Because, Sonichu is everything to Chris. He doesn't, even people drawing Sonichus and all in different ways and all, he thinks that's reality. And he just doesn't want that. So Alec doing all this really fucked with Chris's whole world. Kind of one of the first times I think someone really drew fan art and it really fucked with Chris here, which nowadays is like his whole thing. Anyone drew anything about Sonichu, Chris was pissed off about it.
Okay, but let's agree with that.
Can I ask you something then about the chaotic combo and Sonichu? If those were just facsimiles, those weren't really yours.
No, they were. No, they were all. No, actually, they were all mine.
Okay, so
they were originally mine.
But the ones that I drew, are those facsimiles or are those not? You're confused.
Okay, well.
Because you in your comic,
well,
you came and you took them away in your recent pages of your comic. I mean, you said that in the comics that those were mine, but yeah, so they must be original, right?
Yeah, you
said in the comic they weren't the chaotic combo, so they must be original. But then you came and took them. I don't get, and you renamed them and restyled.
All right. Listen. Okay.
You can already see that Chris is getting very frustrated with this conversation because he doesn't have this guy telling him, yeah, Chris, I'll do whatever you want to do. I'll draw your characters any way you want me to. Because Chris is really confused now. Because Alec is saying, yeah, Chris, you said I can't use this character, and this character because they're not the real character, but they're the character I drew in my book, so it's not the same as your character, right? And Chris is just so fucking thrown off by this, like a lot of things here. He can't grasp Alec's Alec's logic because Chris has never really talked to someone like this, and I don't mean someone like Alec. I mean he's never talked to somebody like seriously, anyone he's ever talked to has always kissed his ass and babied him. Alec is one of the few people, kind of like Casey's dad, kind of like a few of the trolls who try to kind of sit there and explain this shit to Chris, because Bob and Barb, when Chris would try to talk to them about Sonichu, they just either kind of get mad at him and say, you need to find a real job, or they just say, yeah, Chris, you own that, Chris, this, that, the third, just to get him to shut up about it. But Alec here is going into the deep details, and Chris does not want to fucking hear it because he wants to put this phone down and get back to playing some video. And see, he don't got time for this legal bullshit, this business jargon. He just wants to have fun and play with the Sonichu shit and make millions of dollars off it and not hear about any there's any serious stuff. He wants to do all the fun stuff.
The KI combo in my comics that appeared before book number 10, and that originated in Quickville, Virginia, not in Minnesota. Those are originally mine. But the ones that you redrew and then made them different from how they originally were in my comics, then that's definitely totally
mine?
Facsimiles. Carbon
then why did you
copies.
take them?
Okay, well, all right, well, number one...
And not just the combo, but you tried to retake my Asperchu. And Asperchu wasn't, a copy of anything. You renamed him Mitch Sonichu.
So as Chris is sitting here all mad at the fact that Alec took some of his characters and put them in his world, Alec is bringing up to Chris, I don't really appreciate that you took Asperchu and renamed him Mitch, because Chris was never going to fuck with the Asperchu name. He hates Asperger's, he hates everything about it. He took all of Alec's characters and gave him just really simple names like Bobby and different shit like that. But when Alec took Chris's characters and made some of them gay, that's where Chris was like, no.
I mean, Asperchu's mine. I don't really appreciate that. You accuse me of thievery, but then you go and try to take my Asperchu.
Okay, well, you did. Okay, well, no, you did take my side shoe and make him claim him to be the original one. But you did claim you did make it obvious in your comics where he was the original one from the city of Quickville, and even worse, you made him brother to Asperchew, and with the homosexual tendencies and whatnot. Even when you drew the KI combo hedgehogs, you made Wild a homosexual when he is not.
Well, but Wild's not yours. I mean, what does it matter if my Wild is gay?
So when Alec is trying to describe to Chris, Chris, this is why you took my characters and changed their names and all, Chris doesn't want to hear that. He wants to talk about all the gay stuff that Alec threw into his world. And it's just so funny to me. Like, the way he describes it is like he's so done with this. Like, you turned Wild into a homosexual when he is not. Like, he is so clearly not that. And Alec will keep on fucking with Chris's head by saying, well, yeah, no, that's not your Wild Sonichu, that's my Wild Sonichu. That's the one that I drew. And Chris is like, no. They're all mine, motherfucker. Like, if it comes from my hand drawing, they're all mine, It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they're based off of Pokemon, that they basically are Sonic the Hedgehogs. They are mine.
I mean, I felt it was depth to the character. I was just trying to give them a little personality. And the homosexual references. I mean, okay, this is something that's come up before. I mean, I never. Asperchew has a girlfriend, Dixie Chew.
No, actually, I read further in the book, and Dixie Chew dumped his ass.
Well, come on, she doesn't mean that. She doesn't mean that. They're destined to be together, Chris. I mean, can't you see those undertones? I mean, that's where this whole comic is going. And besides, it still means he's straight. I mean, even if a girl does dump him, what does it matter? He went after a girl. He didn't go after a boy. Like you said, Sonichu is his brother. I mean, why would he, even if he was gay, why would he go for his brother? That's just sick.
So there's a lot to explain with this little snippet right here. But, the thing is, it shows Chris's mentality that he had then and he still has now. Instead of just going at Alec for the things Alec does, he's like, yeah, well, I actually read through in the comic and your character, Asperchew, his girl dumped his ass. Like, he expects Alec to be like, fuck, you're right. What a loser my character is. But like to Chris, they'll get into this conversation eventually, but he doesn't grasp the fact that, even though Alec drew stuff this way, it's just his story. Even though Chris does the same thing, that's why he'd never make his characters look bad in any situations, because he sees it as a reflection on him. So when Alec drew Asperchew losing his girlfriend, Chris uses that as like a haha, fuck you. Like, it's just how his mindset works. We are also firmly in the era of Chris being extremely homophobic, which is why this is all like a real bad sign to him. He doesn't want none of this shit in his comic, whereas nowadays this is like all Sonichu is about. And then at the end there, though, Alec brings up like, Chris, it is kind of weird that you're just assuming because Sonichu and Asperchew are brothers that they're also in a relationship. But looking back on it, those little incestuous undertones, they kind of fit right in there.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you think?
Okay. Well, listen. How about this? In your comics, when you in the future, or in re-referencing the past pages, the Sonichu that is Asperchew's brother, you just refer to him as Michael, and the Wild you refer to him as Bobby, the Angelica, Trisha, etc., just like I said in my page. And this can be Asperchew's nickname.
But Chris, those aren't really their characters' names. I mean, Bobby and Mitch and I forget the other names. I think you renamed Bubbles Kitty, something like that. I mean, those aren't their names.
See, Chris thinks he can take someone else's work and just kind of shuffle it around and make it to his liking if it's not to his liking. That's just how selfish, kind of how like just how self-centered Chris is. If he doesn't like these things, he feels like he can just call someone up and be like, nah, 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 change this, change that, change this. And it's just this call that's kind of the reason this is so funny, because Alec in a lot of ways is doing the same shit Chris is doing, but Chris is trying to act like, no, it's not okay for you to be doing that shit. But it's okay for me to be taking all this copyrighted shit, but you taking my shit, absolutely not okay. And it's just the fact that he's just telling this dude, like, yeah, change Asperchu's name to this, change so-and-so's name to fucking Bobby. It's so funny, because Chris's characters are named, like, Magichan and Wild Sonichu and Punchy, and he's like, yeah, and your stuff could be named Michael and Bobby and whatever the fuck else.
They have the same names as your
yeah, okay, well, you see, when I gave the KI combo characters those names originally in my books, those would be their nicknames. They're all Sanchus and those shoes individually, but they're just of different types. Like he looks like without the nickname, he would be Grass Sanchu. Without the nickname, she would be Water Rose Chew, Flying Rose Chew, Fighting Sanchu, Sonic Sanchu.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. Well, see, there's one of the differences though, because in my comic, those are really their names. I mean, Angelica, Punchy, Bubble.
No. You see, but those are actually their names in my book.
This is around the part of the call where Chris starts to just kind of give up and say, no, look, we're doing it like the Pokemon games do it. Because he doesn't really know how else to describe it other than I like the way they do it in the Pokemon games, therefore that's the way we're going to do it in my book. Chris's whole idea for like the Sonichu video game was always like a mix between Pokemon and Sonic. So I assume that's just a Pokemon game where your guy's not walking really slow. Chris probably just did not like that and wants like a Sonic speed fucking Pokemon game, which, it sounds cool. Honestly, when I describe it, it sounds cool. It's just Chris's idea, which is just two things he likes and put them together. It's not very original. It's just, it's just the way he does shit.
They're nicknames, you said. In my comic, they're their actual names. That's the difference.
No, I'm talking in reference to the Pokemon game. If you want to name your Bulbasaur, they call it giving it a nickname, but really it's just giving them their name. So, therefore, the Grass Sanchu in my book is Wild, the Water Rose Chew in my books are Bubbles, etc., etc. So,
Chris,
it would work better if you just take the names I suggested for your variations of those characters and just reference to them as such.
Again here, Chris is just, not realizing that what he's doing is wrong to other people. He's saying, hey, I'm complaining that you took my characters and drew them doing things I don't like in your book, but it's completely okay for me to take all of your characters, change their names, and then ask that you do the same thing to your characters in your book, because now that's the way it is in my book now, and I don't want to fuck up my continuity, He's just, basically what Chris wants to say here is, stop doing what you're doing, do everything the way I want it to do, and just knock it off. Don't do anything with my characters. I hate this shit. But then he jumps into the fact that, it's kind of like Pokemon. You wouldn't just name your character whatever. You got to give them an actual name. This is something we talked about in a video a few weeks ago, and a lot of y'all were telling me, like, Smokey, you're crazy. What? That's like basically calling your dog. And, to those people, I do agree with that statement. I understand where you're coming from. My whole mindset playing the Pokemon games was always, that's the one Bulbasaur in the story. That's the one Charmander in my story. So I'm not going to name him like fucking, Chauncey or some shit. That's just Bulbasaur right there. So that was my mindset of it, but no. That's just stupid Pokemon shit. We can talk about that a different day. The stupid shit we got to talk about today, though, is how Chris is talking to Alec in this call, because it's just going to get much more ridiculous.
Chris, my characters aren't Pokemon, though. I don't draw Pokemon. That's not how it works in my comic.
Yeah, you have been drawing Pokemon. Sanchu is an electric hedgehog Pokemon.
I thought he was a Sonichu.
Sanchu
I thought that was like
hedgehog. If you read back in my book number 0, I make it perfectly clear that Sanchu and Roschu are electric hedgehog Pokemon.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the point of confusion there is where they're like. I've never seen any Pokeballs in your comic or trainers or any of those other Pokemon elements. You know,
Yeah, okay,
like shouldn't they live in Pokeballs?
Okay. Yes, there's a Pokeball that especially catches Sonichus and Roschu called the S-Chew Ball. And there is a reference to that within the books. The crystals were the Sonichu Ball crystals originally before I decided to rename them Chaotic Crystals.
I've heard the Sonichu comics are filled with many, many lazy creations from Chris, but in my opinion, none is as lazy as the S-Chew Ball. The fucking S-Chew Ball? Like, come on. Like, everything, it's... Oh, man, that sucks. That name sucks. But, you can hear at the beginning there when Alec is saying, Chris, like, we're not drawing Pokemon. I've never even seen a Pokeball. Chris is just, you can see he's about had it up to here. He's like, all right, stop. Clearly you don't know shit about the S-Chew Ball, my man. But also, Alec clearly doesn't know about the chaotic crystals that somehow have to do with the S-Chew balls and whatever the fuck. Maybe that's how you make them, like Chris is saying. It's just funny, he takes one thing from Pokemon, one thing from Sonic. We go back and forth from each thing, the chaotic crystals from Sonic or the chaotic whatever the fuck. I don't know Sonic too well. I know Pokemon a lot better. But, like I said, he'll just go from one to the other, steal things from both, and make this big amalgamation of what the fuck ever his comic was.
And we do have we have two trainers. Nate Cirque was a Pokemon trainer. He had a Zapdos. He had a Red Gyarados. He had a Mewtwo.
Okay, but Chris, those are like Zapdos and Mewtwo and Gyarados. I mean, does anyone... Because Sonichu lives in like a house, doesn't he? I mean, he lives like a person. Who's training Sonichu?
Okay, well, you see, he was originally a wild Pokemon, the original Sonichu. But the original Roschu was originally the Raichu that was caught and trained by the Pokemon trainer Kelly, Kel for short.
But they live on their own now. I mean, when they became Sonichu, Roschu, they're people, right? I mean, they live like people. They have jobs like people. Sonichu has a job.
Well,
what is it?
Yeah, we see. Well, in that case, Kel wanted to move on with her Pokemon trainer career, but Roschu and Sonichu wanted to live happy individual lives together. So, upon realizing that, Kel just let them go, just like Ash released his Butterfree so he can go mate with the pink Butterfree.
Oh, well, I actually didn't know any of that.
So now Chris is trying to give his long convoluted backstory on all this bullshit going on, because Alec brings up, you're bringing up Zapdos, you're bringing up Mewtwo and Gyarados and shit. Like, how are you able to bring these things up in your comic? And Chris, he has no answer for this, but the one fucking kicker is Alec brings up, well, why are, Mewtwo, Zapdos, why are they just off being Pokemon? And Chris claims that, Alec is drawing Pokemon, the Sonichus are electric hedgehog Pokemon, so why aren't they, in S-Chew balls fighting and all that? Why do they have houses? Why do they live in a fucking house and shit? And Chris is just saying, well, because their trainer let them go, that's just how it works. But he's not explaining how, he talks about how Ash let go of his Butterfree. Well, Butterfree didn't go and get a full-time job as a Crime Stopper. Butterfree didn't go get her own house. So I don't think Chris understands as how ridiculous this sounds with his Pokemon kind of living a normal life like people, but he still wants to call them Pokemon.
But I digress. The point is that Asperchu and my version of the chaotic combo, all those characters, those are not Pokemon in my comics. I mean, Pokemon don't exist in the world of Asperchu. You see, because Asperchu, he lives with his grandparents in a house. I mean, he's a person.
Yes, but okay, well.
My Sonichu is a person. My chaotic combo are people.
Okay, well, okay. All right, but still, it just makes it sound like my characters when you talk about these Sonichu from Quickville. But
but they're not your characters. We've established that they're not yours. I mean, they're my characters. It's original.
Okay, well, no.
So once again, to anybody lost, Alec is saying, Chris is telling Alec that your characters are not original, they're just recreative facsimiles or whatever. So Alec is saying, cool, yeah, so all these characters you're mad about in my book, they're not yours, they're my characters. Like you're saying, they're not original and all this, they're Alec's original characters, not Chris's original characters. And Chris just can't fucking comprehend this, He's just gonna constantly fall back on, yeah, well, no, it's still my Sonichu, that's still this, that, but it's not, this version isn't your Sonichu, this is Alec's Sonichu. And it's very, like I said, it's one of these times where you just see Chris's whole, fucking world just get so turned upside down because he doesn't know what the fuck to say.
Okay, well, all
like
the
my comic's not a parody.
Okay, Sonichu, and Rosechu. I actually have paper-registered copyrights on those. So I could sue you. But I'm trying to resolve this peacefully.
You have, okay, so you have...
Yeah, look under the copyright section on the Wikipedia. It actually has the scan of the paper from the Virginia Library of Congress, as well as the envelope that it came in.
So you have a copyright of Sonichu.
Yes.
But you said Sonichu is a Pokemon, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure Nintendo has the copyright claims of Pokemon. So...
Still,
I mean, it's a good point.
See, what Chris did right there is opened up a can of worms he did not want to open, because the second he talked about suing Alec, now Alec is going to treat this very seriously as if he is getting sued, and Chris is just kind of going to be like, oh, fuck, I just said that to kind of scare you, to get you off my back. But another thing Chris said is that he owns the trademarks to Sonichu and Rosechu, and Alec, when Alec brings up that, Chris, these are Pokemon, these are, how can you own the copyright to Pokemon? Chris is very silent and then just responds with a faint, yeah, well, it's Sonichu. Are you fucking kidding me? That's your response to that? Can you imagine him in court? All right, Chris, you can't own the rights to this because they're Pokemon. He'll just stand there and go, yeah, I know, but this is Sonichu, not Pokemon. It's just, he's so lost in this conversation.
I might want to just contact Nintendo just to make sure everything's okay, to make sure I'm not stepping on their toes. But
they have been contacted before and everything's okay, so you don't need to do that.
But, well then, I mean, how can you hold the copyright to a Pokemon?
The Virginia Library of Congress has allowed me...
Wouldn't it, well, Virginia Library of Congress, can't tell Nintendo what to do. I mean, they can't tell Nintendo to just hand over copyrights to their creations to just anybody. I mean, Nintendo could take, the Virginia Library of Congress to court and say, hey, wait a minute, you issued this copyright illegal. It's just the Library of Congress. I mean.
Okay, look, let's just agree to, this is what we're talking about right now. It just seems pointless to what we were originally talking about.
Chris tries to brag that he owns the copyright because the Virginia Library of Congress allowed him to do so. However, in recent years, it's all been found out that basically anyone could just pay them $40 and get some type of copyright thing. It doesn't really give you the full rights to it at all. I don't even think they really even checked what Chris was getting the copyright for. But yeah, Chris thinks this will hold up in court, and Alec brings up no, they can't just tell Nintendo, all right, give your shit over to Chris here, he needs it more. Chris also lies to Alec and says that, yeah, Nintendo has been contacted before and everything's okay, you don't have to do that. And Chris really does think that Nintendo is just oh man, it's cool, Chris, you can draw these really fucked up comics that have sex and gore and all this shit in them and use our characters to do it, that's totally cool with us. He's so out of it. And then at the very end there, you can see he just wants to get away from this conversation. He sees there's no way he can be right and there's no way he can get what he wants. So for that reason, let's walk away. For that reason, let's just not talk about this anymore. It's not important. It's not what I want to talk about, and it's just not gonna get me what I want. And that's all Chris cares about, getting what he wants, ladies and gentlemen. And that's where we're gonna stop this today. We still have many, many, many more parts of this. We're not even done the first phone call yet, but we're gonna get there. We are sure gonna get there, my friends. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and like I said, expect many, many more of these to come out in the next few weeks. I want to give shouts out to Vanessa, Krabby, Worman, Bjornson, Liz Vender, Club Doom, Cody Hale, the Ghostbusters fans, Scaly Schisms, Echo Spectre, Sky, Churlish, Isaiah, Fiendland's Party Place, Kaitan, Akiba's Beat Fan, The Night Owl, Mick Surly, and our old friend Music Biz Marty's Bong. I want to thank all y'all for supporting the channel, and I want to thank all you goats for making it to this far in. It's hard to listen to Chris just kind of squirm up into a ball and not know what he's talking about, but I think if we're all here together enjoying it, getting fried, just, maybe having a couple drinks while watching it, it's going to be a definite fun time, my friends. I'm happy that all y'all are here for it. Maybe we'll go live with a few of these some of these days, premiere these. We can all talk in the comments below or the chat room. So yeah, I hope to see y'all here for all these. It's gonna get funny, my friends. If it hasn't gotten funny enough yet, it's gonna get a lot more funny. So when it happens, it happens. But we're getting there slowly but surely. There's a lot we have to cover. So I'm gonna get out of here, and it is now Wednesday. It's a good night. I'm gonna get fried tonight. I'm gonna watch some AEW, and I'm gonna kick back. The weekend's very close, my friends. The weekend is very close, and it won't be too long till it's here. So of course you got that to look forward to. The work week's probably kicking your ass like it's doing for many people. It always does this shit. The work week, it's a bummer. It's a bummer, especially in these final days of summer when the summer's about to end. Maybe you got a job that's too hot and you want the summer to end, and for your sake, my friend, I hope this shit ends quick. But before you know it, it'll be the holidays. Before you know it, it'll just be a good time of the year for everyone to be, just to have a good time, my friends. That's all that matters in life. Just keep looking forward to when you're going to be having a good time, and before you know it, that good time will be here. So I'm gonna get out of here, like I said, and I hope you all stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, my friends.